Years ago at a small chapel in Bethany, and now that we live in Topeka, Kansas, it's sort of drivable to come here and visit my wife's family, so I'm glad to be among you all and feel like I'm at least halfway Oklahoman. I want to point out that I have a special guest here with me tonight, and it's the first time she's ever taken a road trip with me to go on one of my speeches. My eldest daughter, almost but not quite 9 years old, Regina Woods, sitting here in the front. All right, now some of you who have YouTube, you've probably already heard this, but now that I got her sitting in the room, how can I not regale you with a couple of quick Regina stories, okay? So this is a kid who, when she's 7 years old, the school decides to give her Little Women to read because they feel like, all right, she's such a smarty pants. See what you do with this one, smarty pants. 50 gazillion pages long. So she reads the whole thing, passes all the tests and whatever. At that point, begins to wonder, well, look, if I can read Little Women, how come Dad won't let me read his books? How hard could they be? How hard could Meltdown be next to Little Women, for heaven's sake? But my favorite story of Regina involves her talking to a friend of hers almost 2 years ago, and they were talking about some old 19th century story involving penny candy. And her friend was saying, well, this is a silly story because we all know a penny doesn't buy anything anymore. And Regina said, thanks to the Fed. And in 2008, she's only 5. In 2008, I had a book come out I co-authored with a guy named Kevin Goodson. We had a book called Who Killed the Constitution? And Regina wanted to know, she very solemnly asked me, Daddy, who killed the Constitution? And then I said, well, it's kind of complicated. A lot of people were involved. And then she looked at me with sort of panic look. She said, was it John McCain? So she was picking up things that were being said in the household. So anyway, a big hand for her. I mean, come on. And for her, the prospect of meeting Jordan Page was just so exciting. So all these things are happening in one glorious evening. And again, I'm so glad that you guys came out like this. I mean, you have got to be Ron Paul people if you say to yourself, it's a Friday night, and I think I'll head over to the casino and listen to a speech. More people in the world like this. All right, look, let me cut to the chase here. I think we all know what's going on here. The establishment likes elections that it can't lose. That's what it likes. It likes Dole versus Clinton, for example. See, that was the year that I finally said, I'm just not doing this anymore. I refuse to get excited over Dole versus Clinton. They can't lose that one. Now, I wasn't always so astute. 4 years earlier, in 1992, I was 20 years old. Yes, you're doing the math. I'm turning 40 this year. I don't want to talk about that. Anyway, 1992, I was on my way to becoming the vice president of the Harvard College Republicans, which is, of course, a group of like 3 people. So it's easy to be the vice president. You got a president, a vice president, and a treasurer. That's pretty much the whole thing. Nobody bothers to keep the minutes, so no need for a secretary. So there I was, 1992. The election results are coming in. Bill Clinton is declared the winner. I had my first beer ever. I mean, talk about a dork. I was 20 years old when I drank my first beer, and it was because I was so sad that that great champion of freedom, George H.W. Bush, had been defeated. I mean, so I'm not saying that we should be contemptuous of people who disagree with us. It takes everybody at his own pace figures things out. And I was in the process of figuring things out, but what they want more than anything else is Romney versus Obama. That's what they would love more than anything else, because they can't lose that.
Right.
So, I mean, Romney, his top donor is Goldman Sachs, and then in 2008, Obama got more money from Goldman Sachs than all Republican candidates running for all offices combined. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Wall Street candidate A versus Wall Street candidate B. That's what they like. And we are the people who are shouting stop to that. That's what we're about. That's why we're here. Yeah! the other day, now you know, you read the New York Times, well I was saying that hypothetically, none of us read the New York Times, it's entirely hypothetical. If you were to read the New York Times, they have an economic columnist named Paul Krugman. Are they booing or are they saying Krugman? And I think the former. Well, all the same, you read his column and he'll say things like, we can't cut $1 trillion in the first year, as Ron Paul would do. Because what would happen? Well, that would shrink the economy and would throw people out of work. Well, here's what Mitt Romney just said at a town hall in Ohio. He said, I'm not going to cut $1 trillion in the first year. Really, Mitt? You don't say. Really? I had no idea. Well, why not? He said the reason is, taking $1 trillion, this is his exact words, out of a $15 trillion economy would cause our economy to shrink and would put a lot of people out of work.
Austerity! You said austerity!
So he's Paul Krugman, right? He's Paul Krugman. So, yeah, I know, we're supposed to be against him. Yeah, I know, Obama's a bad guy, I got it. Okay, I hear ya, I know Obama's a bad guy. But replacing Obama is not an end in itself if you're replacing him with another crummy Keynesian who's got exactly the same views on the economy.
Crummy Keynesian.
And for him to say that cutting $1 trillion out of the federal budget is taking $1 trillion out of the economy shows the dangerous, ignorant mentality he has. Because I'll tell you what's taking $1 trillion out of the economy. When the government taxes us $1 trillion, that takes $1 trillion out. However, when I criticize Romney, they will say, you know, you're helping Obama. You're helping Obama by criticizing Romney. No, you know what? You know who's done more than anyone else to help Obama? The people who are telling us we need Mitt Romney as the nominee. Those are the people who got to help Obama. Now, a letter went out the other day from the head of, I guess, the former Santorum campaign here in Oklahoma. And now, let me say a little something here. I just want, in my own defense, for some of you who, you know, not everybody watches all my videos on YouTube and all that. I want to assume things, but you know, I try to be even-handed and friendly. I try to be friendly when I deal with people on the other side, unless they start off vicious. Then I don't give them the benefit of the doubt and I just smash them. But if I think people are people of goodwill, I try to assume they're of goodwill and be courteous. And so when I'm on shows like I've been on Dennis Prager, I'm on Michael Medved, or you know, a whole bunch of these other sorts of programs, Dennis Miller and whatever, I don't go on there saying, hey, you guys are all wicked and you should all, you know, burn forever. I don't do that. I go on, I try to be the best ambassador I can possibly be. And now, if it turns ugly, then, you know, I'll get right in there and fight. But I don't go in there thinking, I got to smash and humiliate, whatever. I want to try to have a meeting of the minds, and at least so that, even if I don't succeed, at least they go away thinking, well, those people are a class act, you know, okay. However, when there is something evil and vicious said, I am going to point that out, and I am going to respond to that, bearing in mind that, yes, of course we want to build bridges, yes, but this letter basically said, beware the Ron Paulians tomorrow, because they're trying to take over the party.
Yeah!
Let's take over, and we can't have that. Because these people have all these objectionable views, and we've got a fight going on for the soul of our party. And he went on to use the typical sort of warning. Now, I have to clean this up a little bit because there's a certain young person present. But, I mean, he sort of warned that, you know, if these Ron Paul people take over, that before you know it, call girls are going to be selling heroin at your kid's school, so you better watch out, right? It's the usual sort of, you know, I mean, just awful, right? Ridiculous nonsense, right? From people who are, by the way, supposed to believe in decentralized government and the 10th Amendment, except when it's issues that, you know, they're just not comfortable with. They want the federal government intervening. I mean, you will look in vain for consistency in principle among such people. So what I want to do is I want to go down the list of things that I see in Ron Paul and try to find what's so bad about this guy that he'd be so scary to people who are supposed to, oh, they give speeches about low taxes, and they give speeches about the debt, and oh, it's hanging over our kids and grandkids, and oh, we got to cut spending, and oh my gosh, the education department is terrible, whatever. All these people give these speeches, but when push comes to shove, when some